talk about or take a look at the universe portrayed within Starmaster. Hello, all you magnificent bitches and bastards and Space Lord motherfuckers, because we're here to talk about or take a look at or try to figure a little bit out about the universe portrayed within Starmaster.
From the infinite void of static, the Atari 2600, Big Bangs to life, Starmaster. Yeah, we're simulating the world of Starmaster by switching on the Atari 2600 and playing a game. Yeah, here we go. Here's the universe of Starmaster. You start your game off. You're dealing with hostile aliens while protecting star bases. You need a certain amount of fuel. I'm gonna hope that they're hostile aliens and you're the benevolent force. That's what I'm going with. That's what I'm assuming here. Your ship has lasers. Weapons that appear to be called lasers. Look more like particle beam bolts or plasma pulses. I'm going to assume that the plasma is generated by laser energy. Yeah. Maybe using lasers to stir up activity in electrons, transforming a certain amount of matter into plasma, create, laser-generated plasma pulses. Anyway, you got laser weapons. You're traveling at warp speed when necessary, tracking down the hostile aliens, combating them, and if you take damage, for example, laser is mentioned as a damaged system, so I can't fire my lasers now. I have to go to a starbase and repair, and my energy's pretty low right now, so you head to the starbase, you avoid that thing there, you head back to your starbase, you need to recharge and repair, and you travel space until peace is restored. So we'll just return to the starbase here, and there we go.
Starmaster. Activision presents Starmaster for the Atari Video Computer System. And many people know of the Atari Video Computer System as the Atari 2600, as later versions were, literally called the Atari 2600.
Alright, you can play this on the Atari 2600, but my very first video game console was the ColecoVision, and you can play it on the ColecoVision as well, with a special adapter.
But anyway, Atari 2600 game by Activision. Activision, I believe they are the first third-party developer ever. They were spawned from Atari, sort of. Basically, some employees left Atari to form their own company and published games without Atari's agreement for the previously mentioned Atari 2600.
Alright, so here we are. We're going through space. We're at Red Alert. Red Alert. Hostile aliens are around. We better find them. Space. Oh, there we go. And take it down. Shoot down incoming missiles and incoming plasma bolts. And we're at Green Alert. We handled the aliens here. This section is clean. And we're heading to the starbase. We're heading to a starbase because we need to refuel. Yep, we need to gas up the starship, metaphorically speaking. I'm gonna assume that we're not running on gasoline.
Really, a lot of it all started with the Atari 2600. Atari would publish games made by other developers as well as their own games. Then you had Activision making their own cartridges for the Atari 2600. And then you had Sega making cartridges for the Atari 2600. And Coleco making cartridges for the Atari 2600. Games by all sorts of developers. As I mentioned, Sega, Activision, Atari, all around back then. Nintendo, there were some Nintendo games on the Atari 2600. And right here, we have Activision, an Activision cartridge. These Activision cartridges are a little different than your average Atari 2600 game. The sticker, it's the same part here as up here. This part here is kind of open that you can see in. It's on the back here, you can see where it says Activision. There's little ridges here that line up with little indentations there. So if you stack Activision cartridges, they kind of lock into place and balance together. That's kind of cool. Now, from just the cover of this, the cartridge art, and most people nowadays, when they get their hands on a video game for the Atari 2600, it is fairly rare to get a complete in-box version, unfortunately.
Thanks to the internet, you might not have too much trouble finding the manual for this game system. Lots of good information in there, but you know what? Even looking in this manual, I still don't know what the starship looks like that they're trying to portray.
What can you tell from this? Well, it looks like a first-person perspective, as if you're seeing from inside your starship.
That's right. One of the great mysteries of this game is, what does your starship look like? Well, this is what my starship looks like. It's the one on the left. The other one is from the universe of Star Control. We could get really sidetracked on some other series.
And it looks like you're firing some sort of particle beam weapon at what looks like a Klingon starship. So perhaps it could be a phaser beams. Often by default back then, people would refer to those weapons as lasers. Well, it could be some sort of plasma beam or particle beam generated by lasers energizing particles or creating plasma. But an actual laser beam you wouldn't see streak across space like that. So they couldn't be pure lasers. Turbo lasers? So it kind of looks like somebody firing phasers at a Klingon starship on the cartridge art. That's actually kind of cool in a way. They actually have a picture of the game itself. I do kind of like the art that was on a lot of old Atari cartridges that helped you imagine what's going on in the game. However, you gotta say, that is some fair, straightforward advertising when you see that old-fashioned Atari graphics on the cartridge, or old-fashioned Atari 2600 graphics on this Activision cartridge.
Okay, we're playing this on easy, so it shouldn't be too much trouble. Alright, let's take care of all the hostile aliens. Yep, we're at red alert, and we're ready to blast our lasers at some hostile aliens. And when it's all over, how do you know it's all over? What does the game do to reward you with an ending? Well, after you deal with that last alien, that last hostile ship, maybe they're not alien, maybe they're human. Maybe they're hostile humans attacking other humans. Well, you'll know when you win because it'll play the Starmaster theme music, and it's pretty much game over.
Hey, look. There's like a little product number on it. AX-016. I wonder if that means it's the 16th game developed by Activision. Maybe, maybe not. One player using left joystick controller. Game 1. The level for Game 1 is Ensign. The Game 2, that one is Leader. They refer to that skill level as Leader. Game 3, Wing Commander. Hey, Wing Commander! I have a copy of Wing Commander for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. And it's on a bunch of other consoles as well, sequels and so forth. But I myself, I have Wing Commander on the Super Nintendo, and apparently as part of Starmaster, You know, Activision presents Starmaster for the Atari 2600, or Atari Video Computer System. Game 3 is the Wing Commander level, or difficulty level. And Game 4, that difficulty level is referred to as Starmaster. Starmaster. They don't have a level that says Space Lord. No Space Lord. Space Lord, motherfucker.
Alright, the video is not over yet. There's time for a little cross-series sidetrack.
So it kind of looks like somebody firing phasers at a Klingon starship on the cartridge art.
That's right, I'm gonna go Star Trek with this. Some people would expect Star Raiders or Solaris, awesome games, but it's time for a cross-series sidetrack, and this time we're going Star Trek. Yeah, so when I held aloft my plastic power sword and a Chaos Emerald fell from the sky, I crossed over to the Star Trek universe. Well, here we have Sega's Star Trek for the Atari 2600. This one's on a cartridge made by Sega, a game apparently programmed by Sega. Sega's right on the title screen. Just like Starmaster, it starts off with a sort of like a theme music jingle. Of course, this time it's the theme to Star Trek, only being played by an Atari 2600. And then gameplay, well, quite a bit different. Very similar. And here we are. This is a section where you're navigating around those objects, and I wanted to get a good close look at them, and that was probably a bad idea because I ended up damaging myself crashing into them. But that's okay, you can get repairs. You're dealing with hostile Klingons and protecting Federation star bases. Those damn Klingons shooting at me, damaging my shields. But anyway, this is actually a pretty cool game. Pretty simple, yet complicated in a way, and it even seems to have inspired some of the video gameplay, at least the combat scenes in Star Trek The Next Generation on the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. But this video is pretty much over, and if you enjoyed it, feel free to check out some of my other videos. In fact, you can watch a couple seconds of gameplay, then how about you quickly pick another video of mine to watch, because we're almost done.